B&B spoilers. Steffy horrified to learn that Sheila is obsessing over Finn and Hayes. The bold and the beautiful B&B spoilers indicate that Sheila Sharp, Kimberlyn Brown, could replace her obsession with Luna Nozoa, Lisa Yamada, by focusing on Hayes Finnegan, Brian David Garlick. With Luna dead and Sheila's marriage on shaky ground, we predict she is vulnerable to a setback that in turn affects the lives of Steffy Forrester Finnegan, Jacqueline McInnes Wood, and John Finn Finnegan's Tanner Novlin. Luna Nozoa's death triggers Sheila? With Luna dead, the Logans and Forresters could exhale this Thanksgiving. They were relaxed now that the threat of the jailbird finally gone. But when Steffi described all the things she's grateful for, we could hear the sinister music in the background. Poor Steffi! She proclaimed that the families are safer than they've ever been, and that could be tempting fate. Is Steffi getting too comfortable now that her tormentor is gone? Should Steffi be more aware? Luna was not the only one who terrorized Steffi and Finn. Sheila was a genius at it. But when she married Deacon Sharp, Sean Cannon, she mellowed out. So if her marriage is gone, what else does she have? She has her old ways to turn to. Sheila likes to remind others that she's not a bad girl anymore, but she never entirely stopped lying. We also heard her threaten Taylor Hayes, Rebecca Budig, life recently. Will Sheila go berserk? Taylor is therapizing Deacon, and these two are getting a little too close. In the November 26th episode, Sheila stated that she'd been thinking about Finn and Hayes, and we can see her thoughts turning obsession at the flip of a switch. Soapy the bold and the beautiful spoilers hint that Sheila may learn that Deacon cheated on her with Taylor. Do you think that Sheila is capable of going back to the dark side? Tell us B&B fans. Do you think that Sheila will once again become fixated on her son and grandchild? She was happy with Deacon, but if he betrays her, she will have little else left. Do you think that this version of Sheila would kidnap a loved one or two in the spiral of a downturn in her emotional stability? The salt spray of the Pacific Ocean misted the glass of the Cliff House, a constant, soothing soundtrack to the life Steffi Forrester Finnegan had fought so hard to build. Her son, Hayes, gurgled happily on a plush carpet, batting at a soft, stuffed elephant. Finn, her rock, was in the kitchen, humming softly while preparing a late breakfast, his focus completely on his family. For a fleeting, perfect moment, Steffi allowed herself to believe they were truly safe. But safety, for a Forrester and a Finnegan, was always an illusion. It was a beautiful glass box, and there was always a Sheila Carter with a rock poised to shatter it. He's getting so big, Finn. Look at him. He's already trying to push himself up, Steffi murmured, picking Hayes up and pressing a kiss to his soft cheek. Finn leaned in, his smile genuine, but his eyes holding a familiar flicker of exhaustion. He's a little fighter, takes after his mother. He ran a hand over Hayes's fine hair. I love this. Just this. Nothing else matters. Steffi watched him, a knot tightening in her stomach. Lately, Finn had been almost too attentive, too protective. He'd jump at the slightest sound, and sometimes she'd catch him staring out at the ocean, his brow furrowed with a worry he wouldn't name. She'd attributed it to the lingering trauma of the alley shooting and the constant, nagging fear that Sheila was still out there and she was. The police had assured them she was being monitored, that her escape would be impossible. But Steffi had lived this nightmare too many times to trust an official report. What is it? She asked, setting Hayes in his crib for his nap and turning to her husband. You're doing that thing. Everything is fine, but I'm mentally calculating escape route's thing. Finn managed a weak laugh, wiping his hands on a towel. It's nothing, Steffi. Just work stress. And just being hyper-aware. We have everything we want. I'm just terrified of losing it. He walked over and pulled her into a tight hug. She buried her face in his chest, allowing herself a moment of weakness. But as they stood there, Steffi noticed his phone lying face down on the counter. A small, strange detail caught her eye. A familiar red notification badge on an application icon she didn't recognize. It was a messaging app, and the badge showed an unread message from an unknown number. Finn had always been transparent. He never hid his phone. The tiny, instinctual alarm bell that had rung in her mind throughout her life began to clang loudly. Was he hiding something? No, not Finn. He was too good, too honest. Yet the anxiety was a cold hand on her throat. She needed peace. She needed proof. Later that afternoon, while Finn was on a video call in his home office, Steffi walked casually toward the kitchen counter. Her heart hammered against her ribs, a drumbeat of guilt mixed with primal fear. She picked up his phone. Her fingers trembled as she typed in his passcode, their anniversary date. The messaging app opened instantly. It wasn't a mistress. It was worse. The sender had no name, just an anonymous profile image. But the messages, the content, made the blood drain from Steffi's face, leaving her head spinning with nausea and disbelief. Part 2. The evidence of obsession. The messages weren't recent. They spanned weeks, perhaps months. They weren't threats, which would have been easier to handle. They were observational, possessive, and dripping with a twisted, motherly affection. He's doing well. The pediatrician said he's hitting all his milestones. I knew he would. He has my fighting spirit. I saw Finn at the hospital today. His hands are so strong healing lives. He got that from me, too. He's such a good man. Our son. Hayes looked beautiful in the little blue sweater yesterday. I wish I could have felt his little toes. But soon. The security is tight at the Cliff House, but a mother always finds a way to see her boys. Keep the blinds open, Steffi. I like to watch them play. Steffi gripped the phone so hard her knuckles turned white. Hayes's blue sweater. She had only dressed him in that sweater yesterday. It was a new sweater, a gift from Brooke that she had specifically put on him for a family photo. There was no way anyone could know that unless they had seen him. She scrolled back further, her vision blurring with unshed tears of terror. The messages grew darker, more intimate in their observation. There was a photo attached to one message from 2 weeks ago, a long-distance, grainy image of Finn, holding Hayes on the balcony of the Cliff House. The balcony that faced the ocean, the one they thought was impenetrable. No, 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 Steffi whispered, stumbling backward until her back hit the refrigerator, the sudden cold shocking her. The next message was the breaking point. It was recent, just this morning, sent right before Finn started breakfast. He is perfect. Hayes is the missing link. He looks like me when I was a baby, and he looks like his father. He is the bridge. Soon we will all be together, Dr. John Finnegan. You, me, and our little Hayes. Steffi will understand. She always does, eventually. Steffi couldn't breathe. Sheila wasn't just obsessed with Finn. She was weaving a fantasy around Hayes, seeing the child as her biological grandson, the ultimate anchor to Finn and the key to her final acceptance. She slammed the phone down and ran to the home office, ignoring the loud, urgent tone of Finn's conference call. She threw the door open. Steffi, I'm on a call. What is it? Finn looked startled, but the second he saw her face, pale, ravaged, eyes wide with pure, unadulterated fear, he knew. She didn't speak. She just pointed a shaking finger at the desk where his phone lay. The messages. She's watching us, Finn. She knows what Hayes wore yesterday. You knew about this, didn't you? You've been getting these. Tell me. Finn quickly ended his call, his expression shifting from annoyance to a profound, devastating guilt. He reached for her, but she recoiled. I was going to tell you, Steffi. I swear. It started small. Just a text about his residency. Then they got like this. I was trying to figure out how to handle it, how to isolate her without scaring you. His voice was raw with self-reproach. I didn't want you to live in fear again. But I was already living in a lie, she cried, the tears finally scalding her cheeks. She's not just watching you. She's obsessing over Hayes. She sees him as hers. We have to leave, Finn. Now. Today. We have to go somewhere she can never find us. Finn pulled her close, his arms shaking. We're not running. Not this time. We're facing this. But first, you have to know just how deep this goes. Part 3. The Confessional and the Twisted Rationale. Finn led Steffy to the sofa, his face grim. She contacted me weeks ago, using a burner phone. Then through this encrypted app. I blocked her immediately, but she just found a new way. The police said they couldn't trace the source because she was likely routing it through a complex proxy network. The point is, I've been reading them. I've been trying to profile her current mindset. And what did you find, Finn? That she's sane? That she's going to stop? Steffy challenged, her voice laced with bitterness. I found that it's worse than before. She's always wanted my love. But now it's not just about me. It's about the legacy, Finn explained, rubbing his temples. She calls Hayes the heir. She believes that my genetic connection to her, and Hayes's genetic connection to both of us, means we are destined to be a dynasty. She truly believes that she is the only person who can keep our family truly safe and intact, viewing you as the beautiful but weak outsider. Steffy shuddered. She thinks I'm weak? I shot her. I'm the only reason she's not walking free. This isn't just about the genes, Finn. This is about power. She's trying to psychologically dismantle me by claiming my child. A chime from the front door interrupted their terrifying conversation. It wasn't a knock. It was the chime of a delivery service. Stay here, Finn commanded, his voice suddenly sharp with medical authority. Steffy watched, paralyzed, as Finn cautiously opened the door. There was no delivery person. There was only a single, brightly colored children's toy sitting neatly on the welcome mat, a wooden block, etched with the letter H. Finn picked it up, his face registering pure shock. It wasn't the shock of a threat. It was the shock of proximity. It must have been dropped off by a courier then, Steffy said weakly, trying to rationalize. But Finn turned the block over. On the underside, meticulously carved into the wood, was a tiny, perfect inscription. For my precious boy. Love, Grandma. Steffy screamed. The sound was ragged and primal, instantly waking Hayes. Sheila hadn't sent a messenger. Sheila had been here. She had been close enough to place a personalized, handcrafted item directly at their threshold. The security perimeter had been breached, not by a rush, but by a quiet, calculating invasion. Simultaneously, miles away in a grimy, rented room, Sheila Carter watched the video feed she had routed from a tiny camera hidden in the porch light. She saw the block, the moment of discovery, and Steffy's raw, satisfying terror. Good. Let her feel it, Sheila thought, a cold, serene smile spreading across her face. Her room was a shrine. Walls covered not with her own family photos, but with images stolen from social media and long-range lenses. Finn operating in the oar, Hayes sleeping in his crib, Steffy smiling on the beach. She kept a meticulously organized folder of every detail. Hayes's feeding schedule, the brand of formula he preferred, the song Finn sometimes hummed to him. They are my heart, she murmured to herself, running a hand over a framed picture of Hayes. Steffy thinks she can keep us separated, but she is only the vessel. Finn knows who his real family is, and soon the beautiful little heir will be mine, and my son will finally be complete. Part 4. The Trap and the Aftermath. Steffy and Finn called Deputy Chief Baker immediately. They handed over the phone, the wooden block, and every terrifying piece of the psychological puzzle Sheila had created. We need to stop running. We need to lure her in, Steffy said, her voice now steady with resolve, the fear replaced by pure, cold rage. She wants Hayes. She wants to see us as a family. We give her the illusion. Baker was hesitant, but the evidence was overwhelming. Sheila was not just a threat. She was a master manipulator living in a world entirely constructed by her obsession. They agreed on a covert police operation. The plan, Steffy and Finn would stage an argument, a loud, public one, audible to any listening devices. where Steffi declared she was taking Hayes and leaving Finn forever. They knew this would activate Sheila's instinct to rescue Finn and claim the child. The next morning, the argument was staged. Steffi sobbed dramatically, accusing Finn of caring more about his biological monster than his actual wife and child. "I'm taking Hayes, Finn. I can't live like this, looking over my shoulder every second because of your mother," Steffi yelled, the words sounding frighteningly real even to her. "Don't you dare leave me." Finn roared back, playing his part with convincing desperation. "She's nothing to us. I want her gone." They waited. The house was silent save for the ocean roar, but the silence felt heavy, suffocating. 3 hours later, as the sun began to dip, the security lights flickered, a subtle sign of a power surge. Then the back door handle twisted, slowly, silently. Steffi grabbed the phone hidden beneath the sofa cushion. "She's here. Back door. Go." The door opened just wide enough for a slender figure to slip inside. Sheila, dressed in black, her eyes gleaming with a manic triumph. She hadn't come for Finn. She had come directly for the nursery. "Hayes, my beautiful boy," Sheila cooed, her voice barely a whisper as she reached the crib. "Don't touch him." Steffi lunged from the living room, tackling Sheila before she could reach the crib. The ensuing struggle was short, brutal, and terrifying. Sheila's surprising strength was fueled by her demented love, but Steffi's was fueled by maternal instinct. As they wrestled on the floor, the police burst in through the front and back doors, Deputy Chief Baker leading the charge. Sheila fought them like a cornered animal, screaming Finn's name. "Finn, we belong together. He is our son. You need your mother, Finn." Finn stood in the doorway, blocking her exit. "You are not my mother, Sheila. You're a sociopath, and you will never touch my son." As the officers finally subdued her, cuffing her wrists, Sheila stared past them at the crib where Hayes, miraculously, still slept soundly. Her face was a mask of perverse devotion. Usually a cheerful conspirator in Sheila Sharp's meticulously crafted life, felt like a harsh, unwelcome spotlight. It streamed through the windows of the apartment she shared with Deacon, illuminating the dust motes dancing above the pristine, quiet kitchen. It was the quiet that was wrong, a manufactured peace. Sheila, or rather, the version of herself she insisted she had become, the reformed, loving, 8-toed wife of a successful restaurateur, was sipping her second cup of coffee. She was wearing a soft cashmere sweater, a far cry from the black leather and sharp edges of her past. She had earned this domestic tranquility, hadn't she? She had sacrificed. She had endured. She had even, in her own deeply flawed way, loved. Deacon was out, working on a new menu layout. He had left the television on low, tuned to a local news channel for background chatter about city politics and traffic. "Just leave it on, Sherry," he'd murmured, using the sweet nickname he reserved for her. "Keeps the place from feeling too lonely." And so the bland, white noise of morning television was the soundtrack to Sheila's fragile calm. A graphic abruptly replaced the smiling weatherman. It was a severe black and red banner flashing breaking news, coastal tragedy. Sheila barely registered it until the anchors began to speak, their voices dropping into hushed, serious tones. "We have confirmation this morning in the tragic death of 23-year-old Luna Nozoa," the female anchor began, her expression grave. The young designer, who had recently been at the center of several high-profile legal incidents, including the kidnapping of Steffi Forrester and the alleged assault of Will Spencer, succumbed to her injuries overnight after being struck by a vehicle during a police pursuit on the Pacific Coast Highway. The cashmere sweater suddenly felt like sandpaper. The coffee mug grew icy in Sheila's hand. "The accident occurred 2 nights ago," the male anchor continued, flipping through notes, "after Ms. Nozawa escaped custody and was apprehended while attempting to reach Will Spencer's beach house. While initially there were hopes for her recovery, she was, after all, resuscitated once before. Her condition worsened rapidly. Police confirmed the driver of the vehicle, identified as Miss Dillon, while Spencer's former preschool teacher and a victim in one of Ms. Nozawa's earlier crimes, has been cleared of criminal charges, the incident being ruled an unavoidable, tragic accident. Luna. The name hit Sheila like a physical blow, stripping away years of therapy, stability, and conscious effort to be sharp instead of Carter. The room faded to a tunnel, the sun turning sickly yellow. Luna Nozawa, her granddaughter. Luna was chaos. Luna was trouble. Luna was dangerous. Luna was brilliant, manipulative, desperate, and ultimately a piece of Sheila's own fractured soul made flesh. When the world had turned its back on Sheila, when she had been hunted, shot, and left for dead countless times, Luna had been the one person who saw the same fire, the same ruthless ambition, the same need for belonging. Luna was the legacy she had tried and failed to pass to Finn. Luna was the chance to correct the mistakes of her past, to nurture that dark spark into something powerful, something theirs. And now, Luna was just a graphic on a screen. The anchors were still talking, detailing the shock, the emotional fallout at Forrester Creations, and the public debate over whether Luna was a victim of circumstance or a deserving villain. Every word, every detached summary of Luna's tumultuous life and sudden, ignoble end felt like a bullet fired directly into Sheila's chest. "They talk about her like she's a footnote," Sheila whispered, her voice a low, throaty rasp, like she was trash they could just sweep off the highway. A searing memory flashed. Luna, eyes bright with dangerous clarity, leaning in conspiratorially. "We're survivors, Grandma. They can try to lock us up, but they can't touch our blood." Sheila had felt a surge of pride then, a terrifying, exhilarating kinship she hadn't felt since she looked into the eyes of her own children. Luna was her blood, her chaos, her air. And the Forresters and the Spencers, the entire dynasty of her enemies, were rejoicing. They were managing the narrative. They were scrambling to control the PR crisis. They were already moving on to Thanksgiving and forgetting the young woman they had driven to the edge of madness. Sheila's hand trembled, then clenched. The coffee mug, a delicate porcelain piece Deacon had bought her, exploded. The sound was deafening in the sudden silence of the apartment, a sharp, violent punctuation mark on the end of her life as Sheila Sharp. Shards of white and brown scattered across the marble countertop, but Sheila didn't flinch. She barely registered the sharp sting of the ceramic slice across her palm. A different kind of pain, a cold, consuming grief, was setting in, quickly hardening into a purpose, an unavoidable, tragic accident. Sheila scoffed, a dry, rattling sound that was pure malice. There were no accidents in this world, only consequences. The Spencers and the Forresters, the self-proclaimed moral guardians of Los Angeles, had orchestrated this. They had driven Luna out, hunted her down, and allowed their emotionally unstable minion, a preschool teacher named Dylan, to end the life of her grandchild. The new Sheila, the sharp persona, would have wept, called Deacon, and maybe checked into a clinic. The old Sheila, the Carter persona, was rising, stretching its limbs, tasting the salt of fresh blood and the bitterness of betrayal. This was not grief that sought solace. This was grief that sought retribution. It was the dark, magnetic pole drawing her back to her destructive core. She looked down at her hand. The blood was dark and thick, dripping onto the pristine white floor. It felt right. It felt real. She walked away from the kitchen, leaving the shattered mug and the dripping blood as an offering to the fragile life she was abandoning. In the bedroom, she pulled out a dusty, locked trunk from the back of the closet. Deacon thought it held old photo albums. It held the tools of her trade, burner phones, fake IDs, and a small, well-maintained lock-picking kit. She picked up the phone Deacon had given her, the one that only had 3 numbers programmed in: Deacon, Finn, and the local pizzeria. She deleted the pizzeria. She deleted Finn. She left Deacon's number, not out of love, but as a potential future bargaining chip. Then, she pulled out the burner phone. The transformation was chillingly fast. The soft cashmere came off, replaced by the familiar, purposeful black clothing that felt like a second skin. Her face, usually softened by Deacon's affection, hardened into an expression of cold, dangerous resolve. The eyes that had recently shown moments of tenderness were now flat and predatory. She thought of Dylan, the preschool teacher, a weak link. Dylan was carrying the emotional weight of killing Luna. That burden would make her easy to break. Sheila didn't need to kill her. That would be too simple. She needed to dismantle her, piece by piece, until the guilt drove Dylan to confess something far more profound. Or until Sheila used her to get to the true culprits. The true culprits. Steffy, the perpetual victim. Will, the moralizing boy who had rejected Luna. Bill, who had dared to think he could control her granddaughter. They were all complicit in turning her brilliant, troubled Luna into a statistic.